Hi, I'm Snez, personal trainer, healthy lifestyle coach, and your guide to feeling your best. This podcast is a segment from my weekly radio show, Wellbeing Wednesdays, broadcast live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. It's all about sharing real, practical tips to help you move more, eat better, and live healthier without the overwhelm. Let's dive in, shall we? Coming up next, going to be chatting about the 2 days of your week that can undo so much of your progress. And you're probably thinking, that can't be Monday because that is the day that I am resetting all of my health goals. But it is the weekend, and Saturday and Sunday, there's so many changes happen on just those 2 days, and it can really undo a lot of what we do during the week. And I hear it all the time where people say, "I'm really good on the weekend, during the week," and then it just goes all out the window on the weekend. Or people will tell me that they eat really well Monday to Friday, but then they feel that it doesn't matter what they do during the week, overall, their weight just isn't changing. And I know that has got a lot to do with what's happening on the weekend. And we don't tend to realise the impact of what 2 days can actually have on you, especially when you are doing relatively well during the week. Then you'd be sort of thinking, well, how can just 2 days make that much of a difference? Which I am telling you that they absolutely can. And the thing is, it's a very common experience, and if we unpack why, it's very normal and natural, because during the week you've got routines, you've got work, or you've got school runs, or you've got commitments, and you might have your meals planned a little bit more, whereas on the weekend there are more social events, there's takeaways, there's kids sports, there's running around, there's grazing, sleeping in, your sleep patterns changed, and it's quite common that the routine that you have Monday through to Friday, that it doesn't occur on the weekends. And the thing is that when we are thinking about the weekends, it isn't just generally speaking one thing that you're probably doing that is making the big change. It's usually a mix of things, and it's more about a pattern that's actually occurring. So thinking about, well, what does your routine look like on the weekends, and where does it fall down? And I always like to find a reason behind our behaviours. So it could be that there's just extra alcohol, which is adding either the extra calories, or that leads to the extra nibbling and snacks or cheese boards or whatever it is, or the after dinner eating. So maybe it's just a matter of addressing the extra alcohol. Maybe it's the fact that you're just moving less. You might be doing all of your workouts or keeping really active, walking to work, between bus stations or train and cars. Then that activity might be removed, as well as the alcohol coming in, for example. But you'll also find that because your sleep patterns change, that you may be skipping some of your regular meals, and then you're having bigger meals later in the day. So there could be a variety of reasons, but there's also another thing that naturally our routines change, but it's also sometimes the mindset shifts, and it's that, oh, whatever, I'll just start again, on Monday type of mindset. And when you add all of those little things up, it's actually not unusual for people to erase their entire weekly progress in just those 2 days of the weekend. So the goal of today's segment is not to take away your fun on the weekend, but it's to help you to enjoy your weekend without sabotaging your progress. And once we tidy up some of these weekend habits, it's really interesting then how our efforts week to week start to compound, and we start to see changes quite quickly. So let's have a look at, well, what are the 3 big traps that do show up on the weekends? And the first one is, I've been good all week, I deserve this. This one usually, you're saying things to yourself like, I've eaten so clean all day, I've self-sacrificed all day, and I've earned this blowout, or these are my treat days, I've been so strict, I deserve to relax on the weekend. And the problem is that this often turns into a lot less eating. It could be afternoon snacks. It doesn't sort of apply to one meal. It kind of applies across the whole weekend to bottomless brunches and then extra drinks, takeaway dinners, over consuming, and trying to have everything that you kind of wish that you had in 5 days, and you're kind of putting it into one weekend. So it's not one treat meal, because that wouldn't be as much of a big deal, but it's a whole day or a weekend of I deserve this can easily put you into over consuming calories that is going to impact your weight loss. And the other thing though too is that sometimes over consuming on these foods also allow us to retain water more, so we feel more bloated, we feel more uncomfortable, and we just feel worse about ourselves. And sometimes it isn't necessarily the specific body fat weight gain, but it's that extra bloating that we're feeling as a result of that food. So we need to try to shift that story from I deserve to, eat whatever on the weekend, and instead, start to think about, well, I actually deserve to feel good on a Monday too. So what can I do on the weekend to actually feel better, ready to embrace my upcoming week, rather than coming off the weekend feeling quite yuck about yourself and then, taking a couple of days to get back on track. The number 2 trap on weekends is the drinks that we don't realize that actually add up. So the liquid calories, whether that's wine, whether that's cocktails, whether that's beer, whether that's soft drinks that you wouldn't normally have during the week, whether that's going out for fancy coffees that might have creams, syrups, and other extras that really do add up. Now, these don't actually fill up your body, but they're extras on top of your normal daily food intake, which really count in your body. And again, this isn't about never having a drink, but it's about being super conscious about how many you're having, how often you're having it, and also making some tweaks so that, again, you can stick to your goals during the week and still have that progress, but also not feeling yuck coming in to Monday as well. So some of the things that you can do is having a glass of water between alcoholic drinks. We hear that one a lot, but it's actually is quite good. Choosing lighter options sometimes. Also deciding in advance how many drinks you're comfortable with having that's still going to align with your goals. If you are having a coffee, you may replace that as your morning or afternoon snack, or it may make up a portion of your breakfast even. So just think about how can you integrate that into some balance. If you are going to have these higher calorie foods or drinks, what can you do? Where can you take some extra out to kind of counteract that, so that overall you're still getting in what you need and not going over and including way too many calories on the weekend. The other trap is grazing instead of meals. So this is the other thing that we don't realize, but by grazing throughout the day, how much we could be consuming if we sort of added all of that up, which it doesn't feel as much throughout the day. But when you are, if you were to add that up, it actually does kind of lead to a lot more intake in the day that you wouldn't normally be having. So if you're skipping a proper breakfast and then you're picking at snacks and then you're having a big afternoon kind of nibble session, whether that be a cheese platter or some biscuits and cheese or coffee and cake, whatever it is, you may not actually be feeling hungry for dinner, but then dinner on the weekends, if it's a takeout or, a big cook up on a Sunday night, if you have that tradition of doing that big roast, then all of a sudden you're sort of leading into dinners not actually feeling that hungry because you've snacked or you've had, extra high calorie drinks, and then you're adding that large dinner at the end of the day. It can contribute in quite a negative way. So because you never really sit down for a solid balanced meals on the weekend, just sort of grabbing and going, your body doesn't actually get that clear sign of I've eaten enough. And so you can end up eating more overall, but actually feeling less satisfied. So a small shift here is to keep your weekends a little bit more regular. So have a proper breakfast or a brunch with your protein, have a balanced lunch to satisfying dinner. And that alone can actually dramatically reduce the mindless picking. So some strategies to help to keep your weekdays progress continue into the weekend is keep 1 to 2 of your weekday habits on the weekend. So whether it's that you're going to stick to your normal breakfast routine, or whether you're going to exercise in the same way on the weekend, or maybe just go for your morning walk, or whether you're going to stick to your water intake habits, whatever it is, or make sure that you're getting enough quality sleep, which is going to impact on your food choices. You'll make better food choices when you've slept. So just think about what is it that you could have one of those routines in place that's still going to give you that mindfulness, but is still going to put you in a better way to make better choices. You don't have to make your weekends completely rigid and as structured as the weekend, because we actually want that freedom, but you do need to keep to some of your habits just to help you stop the wheels from falling off completely and just feeling yuck, not luck. But plan your activities in a purposeful way as well. So rather than thinking about, I've got this party, just see what happens in terms of the food choices, think more about having something satisfying and nourishing before you head off, especially if it's going to be nibbles and things like that. So just being a little bit more intentional. You may want to hydrate more throughout the day. That's the sort of way that you can make sure that you sort of have a better weekend. Move your body more frequently. So whether, it's a different opportunity to go for a longer walk or a bike ride, things that you wouldn't necessarily take the time to do during the week, it could definitely be part of your social activities over the weekend. And remember, it's not about being perfect on the weekend. I want it to be really clear on that. It's more about having weekend that's going to support the improvements and the progress that you're trying to make during the week. So you don't want to, because over time, week to week, you want to be able to progress and not just feel like you're stuck and you're not really quite sure what. And it's just that simple thing of the weekends undoing most of your work. But give it a go this weekend coming up and try to do something a little bit differently. Make a small tweak. So whether that's keeping your usual healthy breakfast on the weekend, whether you are going to substitute in some more water to balance out some of those drinks, or you're going to be more active in the day. Just do one thing, one change, not extreme, and see how it impacts on your progress over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for joining me on this segment from Wellbeing Wednesdays, as heard live on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who might find it helpful and subscribe so you never miss a show. Want to catch the live broadcast? Well, you can tune in Wednesdays from 12 till 2 p.m. on 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, or find my info on Wellbeing Wednesdays with Snez, the Facebook group. Take care, stay healthy, and remember, it's the little choices every day that create big changes. Talk soon.